Good morning, guys. In today's presentation, we're going to be installing this 4K dash cam on the motorcycle. This is made by Vantrue. It's called the F1 or Falcon 1. But before we get started, let me just tell you a little bit of information about this. First of all, we're going to be doing a giveaway, one on YouTube and the other one on Facebook. So if you're not a member of the Facebook group for the Rebel 1100, which is called Rebel 1100 World, I'll put a link in the description as well as the name. Please join that group. It is a wealth of information. We learned, all of us as a community, we learned so much from that Facebook group. Please contribute to it, join us, learn, and be a part of the community. Let me give you a little bit of background on why I wanted a dash cam. So back in 2009, you know, guys, I shared with you that I used to ride on the track, and the GoPro had just come out. It came out in 480. This is back in 2009. I was on the track having a blast, and I'm not going to say anymore. Why don't you guys watch the video and we'll talk about the details. Not a very pleasant video to watch, I must say, right? Yes, I did get hurt. I had a knee injury, unfortunately, because as you can see, after the impact, I was airborne, kind of like Superman, and I landed on my left knee, which messed my left knee up, as you can imagine. But as you can see clearly in the video, the bike that I crashed into actually was already on the ground before I made impact. I actually deliberately picked up the bike to try to avoid the actual rider, because the rider was to the left. You couldn't really see him in that video, so I tried to avoid him, and by doing so I made contact with his bike and I was airborne. And you can imagine the damage that happened to my bike as well as to myself in terms of the knee injury that I sustained. So once we stopped tumbling and we came to a stop, of course, with all the moaning and everything that was going on, the gentleman was under the impression that I actually took him out. He made the claim to me that I took him out, I bumped into him, I made him fall, and as a result, that's why he crashed. So after they picked up the bikes and they took us back to the paddock, he went to the organizer, to the person in charge of the organization that I was riding with, and made a formal complaint and said that I was riding dangerously and I took him out. You can imagine how that made me feel when I was approached, and you can imagine all the tension and aggression that I faced from himself as well as the group that was with him. Of course, his family, everybody was upset because he was hurt a little bit. His bike was a little bit messed up as well. But he told everybody in the paddock, including his family, that wanted to get physical with me. Unfortunately, I have to share the truth with you guys. That was what happened exactly in the paddock area, and would not give me the opportunity to explain myself. Of course, the organization wanted to penalize me. They wanted me to pay for all the damages and everything like that. So at that time, I had this passion of mine of recording the rides, not just for me, but to also share it with my friends. So, you know, as soon as the GoPro had come out, I had installed it and was recording every session, so that me and my buddies can relive it together. So I used to bring my laptop with me with DVDs back in the day. If you guys remember, we had DVDs. So I made sure that I brought a whole set of DVDs so that I can burn all these sessions onto these DVDs and share them with my friends. So having done that, so I ended up getting the footage from the GoPro. I put it on the laptop, took the laptop. Of course, all of my friends were very supportive. I'll never forget that moment, actually, where they all stood by my side and protected me in that situation. So we all went and met with this gentleman in the presence of his family, and I assure you that they were very upset with me at that time, and they expressed that in front of everybody. But they were politely asked to give me an opportunity to explain myself, and at that time I showed them the video that you guys saw, and you can imagine how they felt after watching that video, that in fact, I did not take him out. He actually took me out and caused injury to me as well as to my bike. So from then, it left a mark on me. It just, I don't know how to put this without getting emotional, but you guys can understand how frustrating, how upsetting, how depressing it is to be falsely accused for something that you did not do and you have no evidence, no proof. So once I shared that with them, of course, everything was set straight. The organization apologized, the rider apologized, the family apologized, and we actually became riding buddies at some point in the future. We didn't become friends, but as you can imagine, I was a little bit upset about the situation of being falsely accused. I'm gonna ask you a question. What do you think would have happened to me had I not had the camera rolling at that time? I would have been penalized. I would have been banned from riding on that track and with that organization. I would have had to pay all the money for his repairs, and I would have had to live with that guilty conscience for the rest of my life. So having said that, you guys know why I am this passionate about the dash cam and why I think that it is a must for any motorcycle rider, and not just for any motorcycle rider, also for your car. Back in 2020, 2021, I needed a dash cam for the car that I was driving at the time. And I did extensive research, you guys. I cannot tell you, you guys know I'm a little bit anal and very picky, so I do extensive research to try to find the best of the best. Buy once, cry once is the philosophy I live by. And based on that, I'm gonna move this a little bit out of the way to show you something. And based on all of that research, I ended up getting this camera made by Vantrue with my own money. This is a 3-camera setup. So you have one facing forward, one facing the cabin with audio, and then you have a 3rd camera which is facing the rear. Once again, this is made by Vantrue. I cannot tell you how awesome this product is. I'm going to put a link in the description so that you guys, I think they came out with a new one, but so that you guys can take advantage. If you were in need of a dash cam for the car, I cannot recommend this highly enough. I mean, just look at the reviews on Amazon. I'm gonna put a little bit of a screenshot so you guys can see. I mean, don't trust me, do your own research, but I'm telling you what I've personally used. I've had this now for what, 3 years approximately, abused in all conditions, all temperatures, ran it for 16 hours a day continuously without any issue. It runs on a micro SD card. This is a 512, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry, 256. And this runs on USB-C, actually. It's powered by USB-C. And you run it from your cigarette lighter, basically. It's awesome. I can't recommend this highly enough. And just for the fun of it, guys, I know, let's laugh together a little bit after that story. I'm going to share with you what a camera like this can actually capture, especially when it's on the interior. That's just one of thousands of videos. I'm not going to tell you what else it captured, but anyway, let's look at this together and then you guys can see how much fun it can be. Did you guys laugh as much as I did watching that video? But listen, please keep this between us. Don't tell anyone, right? I have a reputation to keep. In full disclosure, guys, Vantrue reached out to me about this camera. Now, you can imagine, based on that story that I told you and all of my research and my personal experience with Vantrue's product, the dashcam that I have in the car, you can imagine how excited I got when they reached out to me. Lots of other companies reach out to me. I do not do these kinds of things and reviews and what have you, but because I'm so passionate about this, I decided to take this on. I don't like to do these types of reviews when they provide the product for free, because of course then one would consider that I am biased or whatever. But listen, guys, my word means everything to me. My reputation I protect very dearly, and that is worth more to me than a couple of bucks, okay? So listen, I asked them to provide me with a few of these units so I can do a giveaway to the community, and guess what? They said yes. They gave us this so that I can share it with the community, right? So They went out of their way for us to have this product because they believe in it. I also believe in it. And this is the first thing that I do that's kind of like this. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. The link that you will see, I will get some sort of commission. I don't know how this all works. This is very new to me. So forgive the ignorance at this point, but I'm sure that they're going to be giving me money for every sale or anything. But listen, you get a 15% discount on the retail price if you use that code, which is on the Rebel 11, I think is the code. And thank you so much for everybody that have already purchased it or committed to buying it. Thank you very much. This really helps me out, helps the community out, because guess what? When these companies see that we represent a decent amount of business for them, they will all jump on board to start making products for the Rebel 1100 community. And that's what it makes me excited, is the fact that companies are starting to understand and realize that this community is growing, it's new, it's here to stay, and it's only getting bigger and bigger. So having said that, guess what? When we are going to be pursuing better suspension, companies such as Öhlins is going to listen to us and say, well, okay, there is a substantial community out there. There is this vehicle that's out there via YouTube as well as Facebook where, you know, it will be worth their while, because some of the companies that I spoke with in terms of, you know, steering dampers and suspension, they all say the same thing, which is, you know, they have to produce a minimum quantity of what, 30 pieces or 100 pieces. Well, let's show them that all these pieces are going to disappear off their shelves very quickly. And this will encourage other companies to step up and start making additional accessories and products for the Rebel 1100. So I would personally appreciate it if you guys use the link in the description. If you use the code provided, take advantage of the 15% discount if you are going to purchase this. And thank you very much to everybody that has been so supportive. I really appreciate it. So this is an overview of the system in totality, right? So you have one line for the front camera. You have another line for the rear camera. I know it looks complicated, but it's very simple in concept. One line front camera, one line rear camera, one line for the actual control of the unit. And by the way, this one also has a built-in microphone that is going to pick up conversation. So let's say, as an example, if you were stopped by the cops and there is a conversation and it's he said, she said kind of thing, this is going to pick up all of that conversation. You have an on and off switch. You can reformat the micro SD card, and they recommend that you reformat the SD card once a month. So they stress that in the manual. Please make sure you read the manual. You can start recording, you can stop recording. And the last one is the actual power. So we need to supply power to the brain. And in this unit is where the micro SD card sits. It lives in here. It takes up to 512. This is what I currently have, 512. And it records on a loop, okay? It creates two separate folders. One folder is regular footage, and the second folder is called Protect, which means that any occurrence, any event that it feels exceeds the threshold that it had set. As an example, if you have the GPS sensitivity set to 3, which is maximum, let's say 0.5 Gs, if it detects 0.5 Gs, it's going to lock that folder, or excuse me, it's going to lock that file, both the rear as well as the front, with the audio, and protect that file so that the next cycle after the SD card is full, it doesn't record over it and delete that, right? So the 512, think of it this way, the 512 is going to contain, let's say, 10 hours of recording time, right? So hour 1, hour 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Once it reaches to hour 10 and the card is full, it's going to write over hour 1. And then once it writes over hour 1, it's going to write over hour 2. So it's on a constant loop. Now, the 512 will record a substantial amount of footage. Don't think that it's going to get full in one day's ride. No, it can last for maybe a week even, depending on what settings you have on. Additionally, it actually records two separate files. One file which is labeled, the date as well as the time, and it ends with an alpha or A, and that is, let's say, the front camera. And then you have a second file with the same name, the date and the time, and then you have a Bravo or B at the end, which means that's the rear camera, and that's how you can actually watch each individual file. Now, you can set the duration of each of these files. So the recording time, you set it to be 1 minute, 3 minutes, or 5 minutes. So each file is 1 minute long, 3 minutes long, or 5 minutes long. You find what's best for you. Typically speaking, at least in the car, I had it set at 3 minutes. It was great. That way, if you're looking for a particular footage, you don't have to search for it very far inside of the video itself. You use the actual timestamps on the video files in the folder. In addition, this unit has built-in Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi antenna is on this side versus this side, right? This is where it dissipates heat, so you don't want to block this. But at the same time, Vantrue recommends that this is facing up, so I'm going to be placing this under the seat, facing up for the Wi-Fi to work. Why is the Wi-Fi important? The Wi-Fi is what allows you to communicate with the app and change settings or view footage. There are a couple of different ways that we can actually power up the unit, okay? The principle is fairly simple. You have a ground or a negative, which is the black. It goes to the negative terminal or the minus, and that's connected over here. And then you also have a positive, which goes right here, which is battery positive. It's labeled, and that's the yellow one, okay? In addition, we have this red cable, which is labeled accessory. What this does is one of two things. Either it provides power to a switched circuit, so let's say your tail light, your headlight, and other accessory ports that turn on when the ignition is switched on, or it can run on continuous power. So it's up to you what you would like to do. You can either tap into the fuse with a fuse tap kit. I have that. I'm not going to do that today because I couldn't make it work in time. What I'm going to demonstrate today is how to connect it directly to the battery so it has continuous power. So what you need to do is connect this red one with the yellow one on the positive terminal, and this will provide power. In that case, you have to turn on the camera manually and turn it off manually as well. Now, don't be alarmed. It has a fail-safe system built in, so it has a voltage detector, and you set the parameter. So if it detects that voltage between 12.7 to 12 volts, if it reaches 12 volts, the system will shut down so that it doesn't drain your battery. Genius, right? I know, it's awesome. So there's a couple of different ways to connect this to the terminal. One, you can just wrap this around. And the second way is to use one of these connectors and do it the right way. Now, these connectors, once you get it connected, this is a little bit too small, but that's what I needed to get for the right size. You can get a wire cutter and cut it so that it can go in here around the screw. Before we do anything, let's disconnect the negative. And now we can put the heat shrink. You can get this from an auto store like AutoZone or something like that. And now we can try to open it up a little bit. And let's connect this to the positive terminal. Okay, the only thing left to do right now is connect the negative terminal, and that should power up the system. Keep an eye on this switch. The lights should come on, and let's see. There you go, it has power now.
Start video recording. Wi-Fi on.
So as soon as it detects the power, it powers itself on and immediately starts to record. And that's denoted by this flashing green light. To stop recording, you click this.
Stop recording.
And to turn the system off completely, press and hold. And the system is off. So after much consideration, I actually wanted to put the camera behind the screen because this will protect the camera from dirt and debris. And thanks, Marsha, for that idea. It's great. Unfortunately, I don't have the clearance that I need to actually make it happen. The other place that I was considering to put the camera is right over here. So from the back, shooting forward underneath the bat wing. But again, there isn't enough clearance. Another place or potential place would be to put the mount right over here and have the camera facing forward. It didn't really work out. The angle wasn't right. I don't like the look too much at the moment, but I'm going to try that out in the future. Another place would be right here, but again, that didn't really work out because of the angle, the way that it is. Ultimately, the best place to put it would be over here, hanging down and shooting forward, but underneath the lower clamp over here, there isn't a flat surface to mount anything to. So what I've settled on right now for the time being for testing is to use the crash bars and the mount that they provided. Let me get you a closer look. This is the best place for the moment for me to try it out, at least to get it up and running, route the cables, make sure everything is working right. So what I'm trying to do right now is I've got it connected to the battery, and I'm going to try to level the camera to get it level and flat so that when you review the videos, it's not skewed to one side or the other. And let's get that up and running. Using the app, you can set these grid lines and it'll help you to center it. So as you can see, it's slightly twisted to the right or clockwise. So we need to undo this bolt right here and then turn it counterclockwise. This is a 3mm hex. Do you see how you can turn it? Do you see the white line right there? So you keep rotating it until it's completely level. And you can check that on the app simultaneously. Do you see the grid lines? Once you get it to the angle that you want, you can start to tighten the bolt to hold everything in place. And you see the grid lines now. To run the cables, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take this cable, come down over here, parallel with this one, go underneath, go in there, remove this of course, go behind it, under the frame and behind the frame, under the tank in here, and bring it all the way back to under the seat. Now that we have the camera mounted, we need to route all the cables. So the best way to go about this is to actually move the tank out of the way. It's easy, guys, don't worry about it. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna do it. And we're gonna remove this panel right here, this one, the tray, and just lift up the tank, move it slightly rearward so that we can see what's going on underneath over here. So to remove the tank, there's this logo over here. Just go under it, it's very easy. Right there. This provides access to one 6mm bolt over here. You guys can come in this way with a hex key. So the 90-degree angle right in here. But because I have risers, I have clearance to be able to come in from the top with an extension. So this is how I'm coming in from the top. Because I have the risers, this makes it a little bit easier. These are 10mm bolts. And now we're able to remove the tank, so you can lift it up. You see it's disconnected now. It's just with these 3 bolts, right? So we're gonna lift up from the rear and we're gonna pull it back slightly to clear this bracket over here. Pull back. And then just rest it on top over here. Make sure that it's stable. And this provides a little bit better access over here so that we can start routing the cables. And the way to remove this tray is you have 2 screws, one over here and one over here. In addition, you also have these plastic clips right here that you have to remove. This is what holds this panel in place. Put this somewhere safe. And now to remove the tray, which will give us access to the battery compartment, the battery, and then we are also able to remove these. So to get this out, just pull it out. Be mindful of the cables. Don't worry about this. This is my heated gear. This is the USB. And this is the diagnostics. And we're going to remove this panel. For this side, at least in my situation, I don't need to remove this one. So we're just going to remove this one. By the way, highly recommended. Make sure you get one of these. Make your life a lot easier. Once you remove the bolt over here, to remove this panel, slide it rearward a little bit. See this right here? This is the catch. This plastic piece goes behind it to retain it in place, and then the screw holds it in so it doesn't fall out. Don't put this on the ground, you'll scratch this up. To remove the side cover, it was only held by that one screw that I showed you guys. To remove it, put your finger behind it like this, slide it to the rear. So you're gonna slide it to the rear and downwards, and it's off. See these plastic tabs over here? This goes inside of here, and the other one goes inside of here. So it goes in and up, and then held in place by one screw. The cable for the front camera is actually thin, so that's to our advantage. And basically, we want this distance. So the connector is over here, so we need to be mindful where this is going to end up, and we'll route this one accordingly so that we have it in a place that isn't going to interfere with anything. So this is basically the length that you'll need to come to this area. I've chosen this area because, as you can see, this cable is very long, so we do need to be mindful of cable management. And if we wrap it up this way, this would fit in here perfectly. Just tie it to another cable right here, and then the other end will connect it to the actual unit itself. Since I have my fog light over here, I'm going to zip tie the cables together. When you connect these together, make sure you hear it click in place. And double check that it's actually secured. This would be a good place to zip tie it. Then we want to snake it through in here. and then zip tie it to one of the cables over here. Then we're gonna go behind the frame over here. Be careful when you're routing cables, do not pinch it. Do not pinch it more than 90 degrees. Coil the extra cable like this so that we can hold it in place over here. Just be sure to leave enough slack so that it can reach the unit in this area. This is what this area looks like after we completed the routing. Regarding the controller, I've decided to route it on the left side of the bike, and we're going to be coming in this way, down through there, underneath over here. And then that way, since this is empty, whatever extra cable that I have, I can actually tie it up over here. Be careful, there's an O-ring on this to keep it watertight. So as you're routing, be careful that this doesn't fall out. This is where lifting the tank is gonna come in handy. So we're gonna be coming in from the top in this fashion. So you're gonna snake it down all the way down here, and then you can push this down and then grab it with your fingers. There it is. Okay? Pull it through. And then we're gonna snake it through behind the frame over here to come out this way. Just like that. Make sure you have enough length to be able to reach inside of here, because that's where the controller is going to be. Don't zip tie anything yet, and don't secure anything yet. We've got to finish routing this to the front, and I'll show you where I'm going to place mine. But one thing you have to keep in mind is there is a microphone right there. This shouldn't be facing the wind. This should be facing away from the wind, facing you. I've decided to mount mine on the actual handlebar. It's not going to be the same for you guys. You're going to have to find somewhere else to put it. But it does come with 3M tape attached to it. And this is the cool thing. It has a little slot over here where you can put a zip tie to secure it to something. And that's what I'm going to do. Before I show you how I routed the cables, I need to secure this to the handlebar in this fashion, and that's what's so cool about it. You can actually run a zip tie through it, and it's got the tape on the other side, so it's not going anywhere. I've chosen to mount it over here because that way the microphone is facing me, and it's a good place for it to be. That way I can see it and manipulate it as I see fit. So I'm going to secure it in this fashion and then complete the routing. And now that this is mounted, we can continue routing the cable. This is how I routed mine. I came over here, down over here, behind my fairing. Now this could be different for your bikes, but I'm just giving you an idea of what I did. Back in there, out this way. And then I'm gonna follow these down, but you wanna be mindful to keep enough slack. That way when you're turning your bars, it doesn't bind. Just check it and then you'll find the right amount of slack. This is what it looks like after it's been rerouted. So this is the way that I came down, behind the frame, behind all these cables, down underneath this way, to where this radiator hose is, right above it. This is it, zip tied over here, down this way, one more zip tie over here, behind the frame over here, and right in this area I decided to coil it and manage the extra cable. And this is the other end where it's going to be connected right over here to that unit. Let's put the tank back on. To put the tank back on, we need to raise it from the rear so that we can get a better angle to come in under this lip over here, because that's where the bolt is going to sit. Slide it in, all the way in, and then back over here. Make sure that it's seated inside. And that's it. We just need to put the bolts back on and we are good to go. Regarding the rear-facing camera, I had a little bit of difficulty finding a discrete location for it, so I gave up and I'm actually going to place it right over here. So the way I'm going to manage the cabling is I'm going to take this off and run the cable inside of it, as well as the connection to the extension of that cable. Then come out this way, underneath over here, go in this groove behind my sissy bar, and then go inside over here. In order to do that, I'm going to have to remove the rear brake light assembly, and I'll show you how to do that. To remove the rear brake light assembly, these are the 3 bolts that you have to remove. The top 2 are 5mm, and the bottom one is 6mm. So the top 2 have been removed, and this is the bottom one, which is the 6mm. Once you remove it, you'll see that it's still connected via the wiring for the turn signals and the brake light, as well as the license plate. This is the area that I was talking about where we can place the connector. So this is the rear-facing camera, and this is that connector. It's a little bit larger than the 4K in front, but anyway, this is what it looks like, and it connects to the extension in this fashion. So this becomes something to be mindful of in terms of the size. So I didn't want to have it on the outside. So I opted to place the connectors right in this area over here, since it's a cavity in there. And then there are some mounting points over here and over here to put zip ties and hold that connection in place. That way the cabling is hidden. Once we put it back in this fashion, we'll run one cable out this way, the second cable out down over here. Do you see how I placed a zip tie right here and another one right there? So I placed the camera over here temporarily, and then I ran the cable inside of that zip tie so you can see where the connector is. And then I'm going to run the extension through here so that they can meet in the middle over here, and then I'll tighten up the zip ties. So this is the extension running through the zip tie, and then this is the connector from the actual camera. So just pull through because we didn't tighten the zip ties yet, and then we're going to connect these connectors like that, and then we're going to screw it in. Make sure it's a tight seal, and then we're gonna pull on the cables, get it in its final position, if you can see, right there. And then we can tighten the zip tie so that this is held in place like this, route this cable in this fashion, and then seal everything back up. That's what the connectors look like with the zip ties tied. I just need to trim the extra zip ties and then seal everything up. This is where we are so far. We've attached the rear brake assembly, but it's not fully tightened yet, because just in case we need to make some adjustments over here, because this isn't on the permanent mount yet. This is just temporary to get everything in position. And then this is that extension cable we were talking about. We're going to route it this way. Do you see this zip tie right here? I'm going to show you where you can place it. follow this channel over here and in there. So we are under the fender. If you take a look over here, hope it can, yeah, right there. If you take a look over here, I use this bracket, there's a gap behind it, just to run a zip tie through it to help secure the cable. And this is where it is. Here's the extension, and this is the zip tie that I just showed you. So we're gonna hold the cable this way and then run it like that. So this is how we're going to run it. I'm not gonna tighten this yet until I fully route the cable and make sure I have enough slack, and then we're gonna tighten this up so that we can try to hide the cable as much as possible, secure the zip tie, cut the extra, and then tighten everything down. In my case, this is how I'm going to run it. That way it's not visible. Once again, the cable ran over here, right in there, down over here, underneath, and I ran it through up here, brought it over here, and this is where it is. All the cable routing has been done, the cameras have been mounted. What I need to do right now is verify that all of my connections are correct and accurate and nothing went wrong. So I'm gonna use my backup battery. I'm gonna connect the device to both cameras and run a simulation just to double check that everything is okay. Let's listen. Good to go, that sound is great. We'll wait for it to boot up, and while we're doing that, I'm gonna pull up the app.
Wi-Fi on. Stop recording. Start video recording.
And get started. Connect device.
Wi-Fi is connected.
Wi-Fi is connected. We see both cameras now. Let me check. Let me enlarge this so that we can see it large. We see the rear. We can switch cameras. Let's take a look at the rear. That is the front by itself. That is the rear by itself. Let's put the grid lines and see if the rear camera needs to be adjusted. It does, as you can see, need to be adjusted slightly, and I'll do that off camera. And while we're here, let's take a look at the settings.
Stop recording.
You see up top it says sync phone time. You can choose the language. You can change the password of the Wi-Fi. You can change the resolution over here. Front and rear together, you select what you want. I want it at the highest setting, of course. Or if you want to use just the front by itself, you can select that as well. The other thing, you'll see that you can record two videos in one, so I'll compile them into one file. I prefer to have two separate files. Loop recording, which we discussed earlier, this is where you would select 1 minute, 3 minutes, or 5 minutes. I like the 3 minutes. Based on my experience with Vantrue in the car, I like the 3 minutes. I might switch it up to the 5 minutes, we'll see. This is where the G sensor is. You can change front and rear, left to right, up and down. This is basically the sensitivity. The more sensitive it is, the more it's going to record that event as if something bad had happened, okay? So I have it set at the lowest setting because I have a 512 gigabyte card, and I don't need to necessarily protect the files because I can have days and days and days of footage that is going to be contained on that card. And you guys can see a whole bunch of settings that you guys can go through. I'm gonna try to condense this because we're running out of time. This is how you would take a picture. And this is how to view the library.
Stop recording.
So this is the video that we just recorded. This is the rear camera. And look how fast that is. And you can see the date on it, the time, the GPS location, as well as the altitude as well. All right, guys, so this is going to be very difficult for me to document on video, so please bear with me. It's very tight in here and I cannot get the right angle. I've been messing with this for about 45 minutes to try to get the right angle to show you. So this is the best that I've come up with. So let's see if I can make this happen. So the first thing we're going to do is disconnect the negative, okay? And this is a 10 millimeter. I like using this tool because it's nice and small and we can get into tight places. All right, so the negative is disconnected. So what we need to do right now is get the Vantrue and connect it to the positive and then attach the negative and then we should be good to go. So what we need to do is connect the yellow cable as well as the red cable to the positive terminal. I know this is a total mess, you guys, so bear with me. I am looking into a different solution where I'm going to connect a Thunderbox to the battery. So it's just one connection to the battery, and then the actual Thunderbox itself has multiple circuits that you can connect to. So I'm looking into something like that, and I will document it if I find something that I like. Okay, now we can connect the negative. And after we connect the negative, I'm going to connect the black cable to the terminal. This is the black ground cable, and we're going to connect it right there. All right, so we connected the cables. Let's connect the unit and make sure that it's working. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see if everything is connected correctly. Okay, that sounds good to me.
Start video recording. Wi-Fi on.
Okay, so everything is connected, everything is working as it should. What's left next is to reinstall everything and find a final position for the unit over here, which is going to be inside the tray under the seat. Do you see how I ended up mounting it over here? It came flush inside of it. These two lines are discretely routed. This is the rear camera as well as the front camera, so going along the right side of the bike. And these cables over here provide power to the unit as well as the actual controller that we mounted on the handlebars. And these are the fasteners that I ended up using. I like these because these are harder than the Velcro ones and they snap together. So let's take it out for a ride so that we can compare the footage. I think it's time to clean up the wiring mess that I have on the battery. As you guys see, I have a lot of stuff connected to the battery and I think it's time to clean this mess up. So what I decided to go with is this Thunderbox made by Heeltech. Great company, by the way. They've been around for a long time and a lot of people swear by this product. In theory, this product promises to deliver exactly what I'm looking for. So you'll have just one connection to the battery, okay? Then we're gonna mount this inside of the tray, and then you connect all your accessories to these cables. The way that this works is that it'll detect the power that it is receiving from the bike only when the bike's engine is running. That's what's so cool about this. So once it detects the engine running in a very clever way, I don't know how that works, but it works. It'll read the signal that the engine is running and a few seconds later will supply power to these terminals over here. One is for the positive, which is the green one, and the other one is the negative. They make two versions of this unit, the TB-U02 as well as the U01. This is the larger one, and I think I made a mistake by getting the larger one. You probably guys don't need to get this one. You'll be better off if you got the smaller one because you'll eliminate two of these connectors. The first thing that I have to do is disconnect the negative and then disconnect all of these connections that are attached to the battery. After that, we are going to attach these directly to the battery and then each cable individually connected in these connectors. With both terminals disconnected, we're going to connect the red wire to the positive terminal first, and then the black one to the negative terminal. Both cables are connected. And the way that I'm going to route the cables is that they're going to be like this, and this is going to go inside of the tray in this fashion right there. This is the final configuration. As you can see, the Thunderbox is secured right here with the Velcro that they supplied. This is where the camera unit mounts. I still have plenty of usable space. The cables are tidy over here. Disregard this. This is my heated gear. And the best thing is we got rid of all of these connectors. If you guys remember when it was connected directly to the battery, all I had to do was press this button and the unit would turn on. As you can see, it's not turning on. Let's turn the ignition. It didn't come on. Let's start the engine. Awesome. So you see, it came on automatically. So every time you start the engine, it'll come on automatically and start recording. I'm gonna let it finish booting up. Let's turn the engine off. And it should shut down by itself in a couple of seconds. I'm so happy with these results, man. Awesome. Regarding the giveaway, please read these instructions. And leave this comment down below. Don't forget that there is a second drawing in the Rebel 1100 World Facebook group. Please join us in that group. It is an awesome group. Thank you very much to everybody that is going to take part in this, and best of luck to you. All right, guys, let's go out and test the cameras in real life. I'm going to do a comparison with the GoPro. So I have Marsha right behind me to capture the rear view. And I'm deliberately going to be riding west into the sunset so that we can see what the front camera, which is the 4K camera, can capture into the sun and compare it to the GoPro. And then also what the rear camera, which is 1080, what it can capture with the, you know, the sun in its favor, basically, because it's shooting to the back. So that's why I chose to mount it over here, because if you can see right there, there's a flashing light, so it's always in your face, it's flashing. The speaker is over here so that when the camera is activated, you hear it saying, you know, recording on or something to that nature. You also have the microphone on this side, which will capture the audio. So the cool thing about it is that you can connect the camera via Wi-Fi and you can actually see what's being recorded, and you see it's denoted right there with that red dot blinking. Now if I am to go into the settings, it's going to stop recording, so you cannot go into the settings while you are recording, but you can actually view the live shot. And what's cool is you can actually snap a picture like that, so that it just captures that picture in front as well as the rear. You can also switch the camera, what you're seeing. So this is the rear camera and that's the front. If you click it one more time, this is the front. One more time, I'm looking just at the rear now, okay, but they're still recording simultaneously. So this is the view that I like, is to have both cameras. So this is shooting forward and then this one is shooting to the rear. And for the people that didn't know, this is Queen Marsha behind me. This is going to be a really good test because the sun is directly in our face, even though it's a little bit hazy, so the sun is not at its full strength. But it's going to be a good comparison. If you guys can try to make out the number plates, from my position I can actually make out the one in front of me. It is UMX7638. Not sure what either cameras can capture, but at least we know from that distance it's about 20 feet. We're about, let's say, 7 feet away right now. All right, I'm gonna signal Marsha to go ahead. That way we can see what the motorcycle looks like from the rear with the sun in our face. I'm excited to see this footage, to see what kind of detail it can capture with these difficult lighting conditions. So this is somewhat of an extreme test for the camera, to be honest with you. It's unfair, but it's good to push it to see what its limitations are. My speedometer right now is reading 48, 47, 46, 45. All right, let's head back on the same road with the sun behind us now. I'm very curious to see what difference it made, and what difference it made toward the rear, because now the rear camera has the sun in its face. we're gonna let Marsha go. I'm curious what the wide angle is actually capturing. Right now from this exact distance, I can actually read her number plate, no problem whatsoever. I can see all the details, no problem. It's 8:48 right now and it's actually quite dark, but looking through the camera, actually it's a little bit deceiving because it's a little bit brighter over here than it is to the naked eye. I'm gonna get on the highway right now just to see what kind of footage it can capture on the highway with the stock light, and then we'll put on the auxiliary lights to see what kind of difference it makes. This is going to be a very good test because it's actually completely dark right now, and looking at the phone, actually it's so much brighter on the phone than it is to the naked eye. Let's try the auxiliary lights to see what difference that makes. Man, that was awesome. That was awesome. Did you see that? Sometimes, man, when you make the wrong turn, you gotta commit, man. You just gotta commit and go for it, bro. No way. See what I'm talking about. What are the chances? Look at this. Did you see that? What are the chances? Thank you so much. Thank you. Bro! Bro! What the fuck? Oh man, that's better. No. That's much better. That's no. Oh, but what are the chances, bro? What are the chances? This trip was awesome. I had the opportunity to test out the new Vantrue Dashcam. So I changed the position. Initially I had it over here. I changed it and placed it over here. And you guys saw the footage. It's amazing, man. So it was abused for about 1,000 miles. The front camera as well as the rear camera, as well as the rear camera, I also changed the position. It was initially here. So I'm still messing around with it to find out what the best position is. I like this one. It's a little bit more discreet than when it was over here, but they both worked great. The bike did amazingly well, as you guys know. The lights are fantastic. Tires are still amazing with over 15,000 miles on it. All right, enough talking. Let's hit the road. I know this video was long, you guys, but to be completely honest with you, it is well worth it to have documented this whole process. Hopefully this will make it a little bit easier for you guys to tackle such a project. It's not that complicated. It's quite simple. I'm a huge fan of this camera. I've had the chance to review the footage. The footage looks great. I'm sure that you guys saw the comparison between the Vantrue as well as the GoPro, especially at night, and you saw what a substantial difference that made in terms of capturing low light images. I'm a huge fan. I love the app. I love the fact that it is Wi-Fi. I love the fact of how small the cameras are. And I'm a huge fan of the fact that it has a 512 gigabyte card. That way you can record so much footage. You don't have to worry about missing anything. Thank you so much for coming along. I really appreciate your support. Please let me know if you guys have any questions in the comment. I will be testing this extensively on long trips, and I will do a follow-up video in the future, and we'll share everything that I learn along this journey. Have an amazing day, you guys.